This show is brought to you in part by some amazing people. I like to call them my Patreon podcast producers. They're all on Instagram, so go give them a follow. Daryl at Your Level Fitness, Amy at Gym of the Gym, that's GEM of the GYM, Caitlin at Caitlin Elise. Make sure you put a Y in her name. That's 3 Ys because she's 3 times as awesome. Crystal at Reduced Fat Mama. I always love that name. Very clever. And Emily at M is the Biggest Loser. That's EM is the Biggest Loser. But guess what? She's a winner, as is all of these fine folks. And if you want to have your name read right here alongside of them, stay tuned to the end of the show for more details. Are you Team Apple? I got to shout out all of you checking out this show right now on an iPhone, iPad, etc. In fact, nearly 70% of you are listening to me on one of these devices. It would mean the world to me if you took a moment to leave a review. This is one of the best things that you can do for this podcast to help get the word out. And while you're at it, leave reviews for some of your other favorite shows. I bet they would really dig it. Oh, yeah! How's your day going so far, Jack?
It's been pretty good. Got up this morning, worked all day.
What industry are you in?
I'm in the legal technology industry.
Okay, sounds very important there, Jack.
Consultant type work. So
it sounds very, very serious.
It's all right. It's not too bad. So.
Was that your field of choice?
Actually, no. I actually went into biomedical engineering for my bachelor's.
Wow.
And I never found any work in the area where I lived.
Mm-hmm.
So then I found this. I wasn't in the position I'm in now. I started out at the bottom, of course. And then over the years, climbed the corporate ladder.
Right.
And ended up in this position I'm in now, and actually just got a new job that I will start at the end of the month.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
How do we get connected? I always like to ask this when we get the podcast started. How do we get connected on the Instagram?
So Leah, 300 to Life is a good Instagram friend of mine.
Right.
And she told me about the podcast. So I would drop in and listen to it here and there. She's like, you really, really like Gary. He's an awesome guy. You should follow him. You should interact with him. And then when you put the message out that, hey, you probably have looked at my page or talked to me before and we're on the same type of thing, just reach out. She sent it to me and she's like, you need to reach out to him. I was like, okay, I'll do it. And I reached out and I let her know. She's like so excited. So she's I told her about it. She's like really hyped about it. So
I don't want to blow up her spot, but she totally sent me a DM saying how excited she was for this podcast.
Nice.
I get excited talking to new people. This was I've mentioned this before, but this is one of the unexpected non-scale victories of a weight loss journey, is the boost of confidence and communicating with strangers. As somebody who has grown up naturally introverted and very shy, which I know comes as a surprise to people that just walk up on the podcast and are like, wow, these two guys that are just chatting and they sound so natural at it. And it's like, well, first of all, this is the first time we've ever talked. And second of all, you got, I can only speak for myself, but a guy who's, been introverted and very shy. And this was not in the plans years ago. And now here we are.
I can say I was in the same boat. Growing up, I was always shy, always pretty reserved, didn't say much. And then I think as I've gotten older and as I've started down this journey to get healthier and everything, it's just, I think my true self was able to come out, and nobody believes that didn't know me back then that really you were shy.
Right.
Like, yeah, I was actually very, very shy.
I hear you, man. I remember it being really bad when I was a kid. Like my mother tried to drop me off with some other kids similar ages. There was like some pool party or birthday party or something, and she's like, she's working 3 jobs trying to support me while my father, we'll put him in air quotes, father, I don't know where he was, but she was doing her best. She was like, I'm gonna leave you with these kids for a couple of hours while I go to work, and you can hang out, and their parents will watch you and all this stuff. And I just remember throwing a damn fit. I mean, I started bawling. I was so scared to interact with people. And I was probably maybe 5 or 6 tops. And you would think even at that age, you're kind of just in the moment and, oh, here's some kids, here's some toys, let's go play. But it's just like, I just remember being so like overtly just shy and just almost scared of new interaction.
Yeah, I have similar things. I think it's one of those things we subconsciously think, are these people looking at me different because I'm this or I'm that or I'm different, or are they thinking anything weird? Are they judging me? It's one of those things we do subconsciously, and I think as we get older, we're more aware of it.
Yeah,
and it'll weigh on your mind. It will weigh on you. So it's one of those tricky things, and I think as you get more comfortable with yourself, that goes away because you don't care. It's like, hey, I'm just out here living my life and trying to help people and do what I can to be better. And that kind of thing just falls to the wayside, Yeah,
I mean, talk about kind of how you got over that, because I can tell you that I know it eats at a lot of people, the comparisons trap, or the, is this person judging me, or, they've lost 150 pounds and I've lost 30, like that kind of stuff. Like, how do you specifically work your way through that? Because, like you mentioned, we get older and we kind of become more aware, but what was some of the steps for you that kind of helped you overcome that?
So I think it was realizing that I was doing it was the number one thing. So you have to kind of have that talk with yourself and say, why am I doing this? Because it's detrimental to yourself in the long run. I was guilty of it when I first started trying to get healthier, and
right.
I would say, hey, I see this person doing all this great stuff, and here I am, I only lost 10 pounds. But you have to look. Everyone started somewhere, and it's all about just keeping at it and keeping that momentum going. And if you keep doing the right things, I don't care how long it takes, you'll hit your goal no matter what you're doing in life, whether it's weight loss, career, relationships, anything you do.
Amen to that.
The way that I got past it was I just started realizing the worst thing that anyone can tell me to anything in life is no. Everyone in life won't tell me no. Everything in life won't be a no, but that's the worst thing. And if someone tells you no, you keep going, you work harder and you keep going. And then eventually you'll get to a yes, or you'll get to even a maybe, just to even give you that chance. So that's kind of how I approach things and look at it. And that's been so instrumental in everything in my life.
It's so true. I think for so long, many of us go through life and, we see others and we think that, man, if I could just have that. It's like, okay, I'm doing this YouTube thing now and I watch a lot of YouTube. I mean, when I'm doing cardio or when I'm just bored, I will sit on YouTube. I watch that more than I watch anything else. And I see these different vloggers and I'm like, man, if I could just have a channel with 100,000 subs and get all this free stuff to review, man, I'd be living it up and getting that YouTube money. But here's reality. The reality is there's a lot of work that goes behind that. People see, let's just say YouTubers, we'll use that as the example. They see them, at a certain level and they're getting access to things. They're getting products to review. That didn't just come out of nowhere. I think a lot of us that we see stuff like that and we think, oh, they got lucky to be where they're at. It's just like you just got this new job. Maybe somebody might think, man, Jack, he's real lucky to get that. But luck is not a factor here. Here's what's reality. It's busting your butt day in and day out and day in and day out until something happens. It's creating your opportunity, because, opportunities come, but they don't come unless you work for them to appear. And that's reality. It's like, okay, so if I keep making these videos, at some point people are going to start watching them. And when people start watching them, the right people are going to see them. And if enough people jump on board with it, eventually there will be these kind of deals where I'll get these, paid trips to go here and review this or that. But it all comes in time. You have to create your own opportunity. It's just like weight loss. And we're going to definitely get into that. You've got to make your own opportunity. No one is going to get you up at 4 a.m, drag you out of bed, make the right food for you, get you to go outside and jog or go to the gym and lift weights or get on a treadmill or whatever the hell you're doing. No one's going to do that for you. You got to make that opportunity. It's up to you and only you.
Amen, brother. Geez. I can't agree more with you. It's, going back to the vloggers, I've reached out to some, I'm shocked they've expressed interest in just my page and journey. And, I say, I see how you get all this stuff and you do all these things. And it wasn't that I wanted to figure out how to do that, but I was like, what goes into making a successful brand for yourself and vlog and countless hours of editing, being comfortable in the camera. I like to cook, and that's something I've picked up throughout the journey.
Right.
But I don't think I have the coordination to cook and talk at the same time and not stumble over my words and burn something up. So kudos to them, because I couldn't do it.
It is tough. I mean, so I was just in New York City and New Jersey this past weekend, and I decided to vlog every single day that I was there. Now, do I have them edited and posted? No, that's going to come over the next week or so, where I'm going to have to take that time and edit it. But it all takes time. And you talk about, wanting to build a brand and what goes into that. There's a lot that goes into it. I'm 12 years into podcasting, and it's just now finally like starting to gain traction, as people would say. It's starting to move. That's 12 years, man, of doing so many different podcasts. And, and I knew that there was a lot of good ones that just nobody heard. And it's easy to say, well, 5 people heard this podcast, so I should just quit, right? Because what the hell, nobody's hearing it. No, I took a few breaks, granted, but at the end of the day, you come back and you figure out what works. I decided, okay, well, doing this wrestling talk ain't working. So what can I do that's true to me? Well, here's a podcast that's about me, and that's where it started. And then you get the idea, well, I should talk to people like Jack, complete strangers I've never talked to before. Let's get them on. Let's find out what that's all about. And so as you put in time, it's just like the t-shirts, that stuff didn't come out of thin air. I mean, there was a caption that I put on an Instagram post, and then enough people reacted to it. I'm like, I'm going to put it on a t-shirt. And then enough people started writing, where did you get that t-shirt? And then that's where it all starts. So there's so much time and effort that you have to put into any of these things, to make it viable, to make it, something that people will come along for. Or in the case of weight loss, it's something that where you're going to finally see results, is because you're putting in the work, you're putting in the effort, and it doesn't matter who knows about it or what. It's a matter of, are you getting up day in and day out and doing what you have to do?
Yep, that's right. I mean, because it's the habits. The habits is what creates the result. You create the habit, you'll get up, and you can't argue that you will never have the results. I know it gets hard sometimes and it gets stagnant, but if you push through, you do the right thing, you'll get the right result.
Exactly. I mean, you talk about throwing out, good stuff that nobody's going to see. I mean, I had like 150 people that saw a video I just did. I spent the money. I drove all the way to Myrtle Beach. I wanted to do something good for my father-in-law, and I took him to a concert, and I surprised him with a meet and greet for one of his favorite artists. And I was like, I'm going to film this. It'll be a great video. And it's something really good to do for him. And so like 150 people saw that. Now you throw your typical vlogger out there, and they might have 1 million people that might see that, these crazy things, surprise my parents with this, and the video goes viral. But I know that in time people will see that, and it's developing that habit of creating the content in this particular case to keep going, and eventually people will come on. And I love what you said about the habit thing, because I also hear my man Daryl Perry, Your Level Fitness. I don't know if you're contacted with him or not. He talks a lot about the habit-based stuff.
Yep, I talked to Daryl. I actually follow him. We'll touch base every now and then. We were supposed to try and meet up back in November, because I'm originally from Ohio but live in North Carolina now, and so he's in Kentucky. But
okay,
it didn't work out. But yeah, so I talked to Daryl too. So you're right. I mean, he talks about that a lot, and you can't argue with it.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, so he talks about it, I've talked about it, you're talking about it. It's like, how many more people need to talk about this before it becomes more of the conversation? Because we're all on Instagram, and everybody's got, or not everybody, but a lot of people's got something they want to push. Here's these pills or supplements or whatever that they want to push, and this is the answer. And you got a lot of people that maybe they're just getting started. They have a lot of anxiety about it. They don't know where to start, and they think, well, if I buy X, Y, and Z, this is going to get me the results I want. And it's really comes down to changing the habits. It's not something that's sexy to talk about, because it's not, in style or whatever, but it's just the reality. It's changing the habits and putting in the work.
Yeah. A lot of people ask me, what's the one thing that you can tell me that you've done? And honestly, the one thing is I changed my relationship with food, or with how I view things, or just the habits. And, they say it sounds so cliche, and there has to be more to it than that. And I was like, you create the habits, your body's going to follow. You make that habit, your subconsciously will know, I need to do X, I need to do Y, I need to do Z. And you keep doing that, you start seeing the results, then that just fuels you even more.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when people ask, right? Because they think that you have this like big secret that you're about to tell them, and then when you tell them something that's so simple that maybe they just hadn't dawned on them, but it's in reality it's very simple. They're just like, oh wow, like they almost feel like disappointed, like they didn't get more out of that, right?
Yeah, I agree.
It blows my mind how that works. But you have lost an incredible amount of weight. What is the number right now?
I am at about 188 pounds down from my heaviest.
Well, we got to do a virtual fist bump on that, my friend. That is straight fire, dude. When you look back to your younger years, when did it all begin as far as, becoming bigger? I know for me, it was in childhood. Not that I wasn't active, but I was running around, and I had, bag of Doritos in my hand, or eating them pizza rolls dipped in ranch or whatever it was. But as a kid, I started to, balloon up. When did that begin for you?
It was childhood. And I don't blame my parents by any means whatsoever, but just if you're not taught proper nutrition and you never know it,
right,
and you never know what to adopt as you grow up and as you progress through life. And while my parents never were big people, or really big people, my sister included, she used to eat whatever she wanted and never gain a pound.
Well, don't you hate that?
I know. I would pick up weight, and I was big in high school and all that good stuff. And college, I was even bigger, but it was in college when I really picked up a lot, is because I was still somewhat active. I played intramural basketball, and I went up to get a rebound in one of our games, came down, and my knee popped and echoed across the gym.
Oh man.
Tore my lateral meniscus and was off of it, and was just scared to get active. And I picked up probably about 105 pounds in undergrad.
Wow.
From that, because I was still, I'll eat the same crap food, or I'll still party and do all this stuff, but I couldn't be active anymore. And you can't ever outrun or out exercise a bad diet. So
it's
while I was active, I was kind of holding off some of that gain as much as it happened. But that's where I picked up a lot, and I just was scared to get active. And I carried that, throughout pretty much all my 20s and everything, even after college. And, then I just got to a point, and I saw a picture, and I was mortified. And I was just like, oh goodness, what happened?
That's the pictures that'll do it, right? Because, like, here's the thing. If you take the picture, a lot of times it doesn't look nearly as bad. Somebody else takes the picture, and that thing will bring you to your knees. It'll bring you straight to zero.
Yeah, it was my mom went back to school, so I was finishing undergrad, and she decided, hey, I want to go back and get an associate's in hospitality management. And so she was doing it. I was rooting her on. She finally graduated, and it was after her graduation. We took a picture out by her car, and my girlfriend at the time took the picture. And once I saw it, oh goodness, I was almost in tears. I just couldn't believe it was me. And I would feel it, going to a football game or something. You feel you're snug in a seat. I know I was wearing a 6XL shirt that was stretched, so I needed a 7, or I was wearing a size 56 jeans. You know that you're that size, but when you see it, it tore me down. And I still didn't completely change my ways at that time, but I was more aware.
Sure.
And knew, but it was still years after that before I actually got on and just said, I need to change my life.
And when does that moment come, by the way? Because I know for me, seeing a picture, it kind of started to make the wheels go. And then I ended up making a deal with my mother, and that's when I got started. When did you kind of arrive at the point of, all right, now I have to do something? Did something else happen? Or, what was it for you that kind of flicked the switch?
Yeah, I yo-yoed for a little bit. I would lose 30 pounds, gain it back, lose 50 pounds, gain it back. But it was 2014. Like I said, I'm originally from Ohio, and I applied for a promotion within the company, and I got it, but it required a move to North Carolina. So before I made the move, I went to the doctor and said, hey, let me just get a physical, make sure I'm all good.
Right.
Well, blood work came back. So I had, first, my blood pressure was high. I had high cholesterol. I was pre-diabetic. And he said, your numbers are that bad, we need to put you on medicine for all of these things. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. So I go from no medication to 3 medicines for different ailments. And he's like, yeah, unfortunately, we need to do this to kind of bring those numbers down and get you in a good range. So I did it, and I got here to North Carolina in 2014, found a primary care doctor, still wasn't doing what I should.
Right.
And they had to up my blood pressure medicine and my cholesterol medicine because it was still just out of control. I found Instagram at that point. Shockingly, I didn't really use it back then. And
right.
I was lying to myself. I would post only the healthy meals, or I would post things, but I would never post a picture or side by side or anything. I work out, and everybody doesn't post a workout or anything, and that's fine. You don't have to.
Yeah.
But I was lying to myself because people didn't question me, but I figured out, I was like, why am I doing this? I am not helping myself. I'm just putting this out here, making it look good, but I'm really not living this life. And we went back to Ohio to visit, and it was for my birthday, actually. My birthday weekend in 2014. We were going back. And on the way back, my left hand was feeling kind of numb. And it wouldn't stop. And so went to the ER just to be safe, because I didn't know if I was having a heart attack once we got to Ohio. And they couldn't get my blood pressure down. And I ended up getting admitted on a trip back to visit family and friends for my birthday, and spent the night in the hospital. And they said, you need to make some changes, or you may not be around until you're even 40.
And what weight are you at right now? Or not right now, but at that point?
At that point, I was down to 484.
Okay.
I was 514 at my heaviest. So wow. I got down a little bit, not much, but a little bit.
It's still progress. Yep.
Yeah. And it scared me. It scared my parents. It scared everyone. And at that point, I said, you know what? This is when I have to make a change. Once I got back to North Carolina, I still didn't do as I should, but I lost a little bit. I got down to 450.
Right.
And I kind of stayed there for a good while. I think probably until 2017. And that's when I don't know what happened. Something just clicked inside of me. and I just hit the ground running. And 2017, I lost a good amount of weight. I started 2018 at 410.
Wow.
And then started this year at 315. So I've been just added every year since then. In the midst of all that, I went full plant-based, so that's helped a lot too.
Yeah, I talked with Leah about that, and I don't know. I don't know if she converted me yet. I haven't started on it, but I'm definitely it definitely is something that's fascinating to me, because as somebody that lived on burgers and all that stuff, chicken and steak and all that, the idea of just completely giving that all up, I don't know that I would ever. I never say never, but I don't know how I would open up to something like that.
It's tough because that's the same stuff I used to eat all the time. Going to McDonald's, and I would get 2 McDoubles, chicken nuggets, fries, pies, shakes, all that good stuff in one sitting.
Sounds like one of my orders. I would put the Big Mac sauce though on the McDoubles, because you got to have the poor man's Big Mac.
There you go. Yep. I got to customize just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Hey, that was a hack to make sure that it was fresh, because otherwise it'd be giving you those crusty ass burgers that be sitting on them stove. I used to work at a McDonald's, so I know how this works. They have the burgers that would sit there for more than a half an hour before they would finally rotate them out.
So my trick for the fries was, I always say, I need fries with no salt. And then
yes.
When I get home, I always put a little salt on them, just so I make sure I got fresh fries.
That's a good one. I never tried that one. I was never really, huge on the fries. I would go, my order sounds very identical to yours, only minus the fries, minus the pie, but I definitely would do the milkshake for sure, because I don't know what it was, but I would just get these crazy ass cravings for these chocolate milkshakes. I just can't explain it, but it would just possess me. It's like I was possessed.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, the cravings were out of this world, and it's just because your body gets addicted to the bad food.
Was that your biggest addiction, was McDonald's, or did you have something else that was like a go-to?
Honestly, it wasn't McDonald's individually. It was fast food, I think. For a while, it altered. It varied. It was Steak and Shake sometimes, because it was right down the street from where I lived.
Oh man,
in
Steak and Shake is good. Yep.
And sometimes it was Taco Bell when I was in high school. I don't know why.
Yeah, that Taco Bell is dangerous, because they have, I would say that their dollar menu was definitely more solid than McDonald's, because they just had so many different options. And so like before you know it, $5, you'd have like 5 big old burritos, and you would just run through the whole damn bag.
I mean, it was bad. Like we would, in the last part of college, we would go out, party, and go to the club, and then, hey, let's stop through Taco Bell. And it would be 2 or 3 of us, and we would spend $35 in food and scarf it all down when we got home.
Isn't that crazy?
It was so bad. It went so fast. It was nuts.
It never lasted. And then by the end of the night, you just felt like, man, I really got to use the restroom or something.
Right.
That's the reality.
But what got me plant-based, I dabbled with it a little bit in 2016, 2017. In 2017, I watched a couple documentaries,
right,
and I was just astounded at what was happening. One of them was Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead, which was about juicing, and to me, that just wasn't sustainable for me. I was like, I can't just live off juicing and smoothies. That's not for me. But there's some others I watched that went into, the benefits for the planet, also how this affects your cholesterol and different things physiologically in your body. And it intrigued me. And so I'm the type that I just don't take things for face value. I have to do my own research too.
Sure.
So I took the Instagram and I started searching through the hashtags like plant-based and weight loss and such, and finding pages and people. And, a lot of it seemed to hold true to what I was seeing. So I said, you know what, I'll give this a try. So I started kind of pulling back on meat. So I eliminated pork and beef. And then I started pulling back on chicken. Seafood was my vibe. Like, I loved seafood. Seafood is the biggest thing that I miss.
Right.
Shockingly, a lot of people say it's other stuff. Cheese was tough, but oh goodness, seafood.
Let me ask
And
you
as
this. I'm sorry. Let me ask you this real quick about the seafood, because people think I'm crazy that, number one, I don't ever eat seafood, and number two, I never ever liked it. And does that make me like a crazy person? I just have to know from somebody that loves the seafood. You can either reinforce what they're telling me or tell me, hey, no, actually, you're not crazy. But I never got into it.
I don't think you're crazy, but it's odd and foreign to me because I think I get it from my mom. My mom loves seafood, and so I grew up with having it. And so if you're not really having it as you grow up, you may not be used to the taste.
Oh, it was all around me, believe it or not. But I guess it was the smell and the texture that kind of really did me in. I would rather have my mother run me by McDonald's and get a cheeseburger Happy Meal than ever eat that nasty seafood stuff.
I actually have a friend, Erin. She said, "Oh, I could never do seafood. The shrimp is," she said, boingy. I think is how she classified it. And I said, boingy, and I said, okay, well, if that's your thing, and it's just something. It's a taste because there is a smell to it. There's a texture. People say the same thing about something like tofu. It's the texture,
right?
So it's an acquired taste, but it's all in how you prepare some things, and that helps you get past it.
Well, that's so true. I remember as a kid once, my stepdad, my stepdad now, at the time he's my mom's boyfriend, took me out fishing, and we caught this big old catfish, which I named Charlie for whatever reason. And we came home, and about an hour or two later, he said, "All right, I'm going to make you some chicken nuggets." And I think you guys know where this is going. And I ate them all, and I said, "Man, that's some good chicken nuggets." I was a little kid, I didn't know what was going on. He's like, "You just ate Charlie." And it's just like, well, hey, that you dip him in ketchup and you throw a little the batter or whatever on it, and it wasn't so bad. But I realized that eating the fried stuff, it's not really too sustainable. But at the time as a kid, I got through it. I mean, it was pretty good.
Yeah, it's, you don't realize it sometimes, but if you take the awareness out, when you think about it too much, that's when you kind of start playing those tricks on yourself.
No, yeah, for sure. So so you started cutting back on some of the meats. What's like one example of a plant-based dish that you kind of gravitated to that helped you to kind of make the transition a little easier?
So when I first started, and now looking back, it's so gross. Like I used a bunch of the meat substitutes.
Right.
Just the frozen things you can find. I did a lot of those and just vegetables, or a lot of those in bread, and like bake some fries. While it was healthier, it's not healthy to have constantly as a treat every now and then.
Right.
Yeah, sure. And so eventually I just got kind of tired, and I was like, yeah, I can't keep doing this. So then I started researching, and I was like, oh, there's tons of stuff you can do. So then that's when I kind of started to fall in love with cooking. That pretty much happened into 2017, beginning of last year. I just said, you know what? I can get in this kitchen and I can cook. And I was always the one that was like, yeah, I can't cook. My mom would try to show me before I moved out, and everything. And
right.
I wasn't interested in it. But then after I started doing it and showing people that you can make great plant-based food, taste great, look great, and it's healthy, and just seeing some of the reactions, like I got a passion for it, just to show people, yes, you can do this. And just stigma that and this is something that is controversial, but they think that to be plant-based you have to be a skinny white guy or a skinny white lady in
right.
yoga pants, and to show that I am a black man that is plant-based and I can make great food and cook and still be masculine. It's just an awesome feeling, and it's something that I love putting out there, because it's not bad. And people think that, oh, it doesn't have any meat or cheese, it probably tastes bad. I'm like, no, not at all. I've actually tricked my mom and some friends with it by cooking food, and it's like, yeah, here, go taste this. And I'll tell them then that it's plant-based, and they don't believe me, and I have to show them, here you go. And it's funny. It's great to see the reaction and just see people embrace it. Like I have a coworker and a friend. She's actually started to go to some of the events with me, and she's kind of wanting to explore it. A cousin of mine, she's into it, and she's lost 60 pounds in 4 months.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, and it's for me. I say I'm plant based instead of vegan, and the reason is because with vegan, there's a moral aspect to it, and you don't have the leather shoes or anything like that. And
yeah,
I can't say that even if I don't have any that I buy now, but there's like my truck, my steering wheel has leather on it. I can't help. That's how I came from the dealership. So I would be hypocritical to say, yes, I'm 100% vegan. So I say I'm plant based. And with that is the things that you eat and the things that you don't eat, and you do it for health. And there's a moral aspect that I embrace too. Like I don't feel like I have to do certain things to live a healthy lifestyle, but I'll never push my agenda on someone. I put out there what I do and allow people to ask questions.
How did you fake family and friends? Give me an example of like a dish that you made where they didn't even know like pretty much what they had.
So I made a vegan cornbread. That was a good one.
I like cornbread.
Yeah. I mean, who doesn't love some good cornbread with some good soup beans or something? I mean, come on. But that, and then just collard greens. You can make collard greens and they think it tastes so good. Oh, did you put ham hock in there? It's like, nope, not at all. So just little things like that. I've made desserts and they couldn't believe it. So, I mean, there's tons.
Yeah. Would you ever imagine, a couple of years ago, before you got into this, going on a plant-based diet? I mean, could you ever imagine that?
Absolutely not. And I can't even lie and say I knew what it was about. Like I heard the term a little bit. I was like, what does that mean? Right. What are they doing? Or what does vegan even mean? And I had no idea. Like it was foreign territory to me. So it took, just kind of looking at those documentaries and doing research. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I don't know if I can ever do that. So, I was probably eating some cheese or something at that time.
Right. I hear you on that. So you just basically came across one of these documentaries and that was kind of like opening your eyes. Like you just happened to be scrolling through Netflix and said, hey, this looks interesting.
Yeah, I was doing that. And then it led to more. So then I kind of went down the rabbit hole, of course. So I looked at one. And then I looked at part 2 of Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. There's Food Inc. and there's Vegucated. And so I think I looked at it probably about 6 or 7 of them. And then I said, wow, okay, so let me start researching this. So then I spent about a month looking into it. And I said, okay, let's give it a try. And, I gave it a try and it was rough at first. I kind of reverted back because I was using the prefabbed frozen patties and meals and all that stuff. And it just, over time, it's like, I can't keep doing it like this. But once I started cooking and putting together things and making ideas and kind of putting together recipes and starting to develop my own recipes, it just took off.
And how long have you been without meat now?
Without it completely, probably about 11 months or so, close to a year.
Wow. That's insane.
Yep.
It takes a lot of willpower too. I mean, like I just think of simple things like soda or a place like McDonald's. I've been clean off that now for, what do we get, over a little bit over 2 years. And isn't that crazy? And
it's hard.
Yeah, no, it's very hard. I mean, you don't see McDonald's doing any kind of plant-based stuff. I actually seen White Castle. They have a plant-based burger. They call it the Impossible Burger. And I think when I go to Cincinnati for this Flying Pig that we're going to do, I'm going to try one of those because I've never eaten anything that was plant-based. I think part of me fears it a little bit because it's out of my comfort zone and I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone a little bit. And so this is like a small little gateway in, is going to a place that is comfortable to me and trying something that a lot of people said they couldn't tell the difference. And so that's kind of my way to try it out and see, kind of where I land with it.
I've done that with a couple people at work. We went out for lunch. There's 3 of us, and they said, okay, let's go to a place that you would go to. And so I took them, and it was a place that serves both plant-based and regular food. And they wanted to try the Impossible Burger, and they were thoroughly surprised and elated to find out how delicious this thing was. And My friend Portia, she has been back to probably 3 or 4 times to get the same burger at various places.
Now clear this up for me, Jack. So like, okay, let's just say now I know not every Impossible Burger is probably going to be created equal, but if somebody that's never had a meatless patty in my life, when I go and bite into this thing, is it going to taste very similar to a burger? Like, do they have like some flavoring there that makes it taste like a burger? Like what can I expect when I try this thing out?
So the texture is going to be pretty much spot on like a burger. So that's probably going to freak you out a little bit at first.
Right.
The taste, honestly, you really can't taste the difference. I mean, maybe very slightly. You know, when I tested it with my friends and coworkers, they couldn't really taste the difference. And they were kind of looking at their burger to make sure that it wasn't a real burger, not the Impossible Burger.
Well, that's what I wonder. Like, how do they even do that? Like, are they adding stuff into it? Or there? I mean, like, I guess probably not because it's plant-based. Otherwise, you couldn't call it plant-based. But like, how in the hell do they make that thing taste like something else? I don't even know how they would do that.
It's some of the seasoning, and it's one of the things I read about it. It's called heme, I think is what it is.
Okay.
It's something with a hemoglobin. They developed that, and that helps with the texture. And if I recall, and I could be wrong, I could be totally off base, but I think they use beet juice to bring in some of because it looks like it's pink in the middle too, like a burger would be.
Sure.
And I think they use beet juice for that part of it. And they have a part 2 out, but only certain places have that. Supposedly this one is even better than the first one.
Oh man.
The cool thing is, I don't know if you saw, but it was actually on April Fool's Day, and I thought it was a joke at first. But Burger King in St. Louis is now offering the Impossible Burger as a Whopper.
Now that's crazy. Now that, here's the thing. I have, when I started on my journey, there were 5 things that I banned: soda, McDonald's, Taco Bell, Wendy's, and Burger King. They start introducing stuff like this, and I'm not going to bring it back into a regular routine, but I will at least try it and see what it's all about after I do a little more research. People that are 100% on their plan with plant-based, and they can go in and say, you know what, this is okay. This is not going to, be bad for you. As long as I can get some experts to tell me, hey, this is not just fluff and BS. This is actually the real deal. I may step foot in one of those places and try it out.
So the way to really test it out, so try that, but what's your favorite food?
Oh man, at one point it was pizza, but I gave that up for this entire year. I'm not going to have any pizza this year whatsoever. So I guess I would say, yeah, dude, you're telling me. Here's the thing though. I have not had a craving for it because like my wife, she still wants a pizza, and I say, if you want it, go ahead and order it. You're not going to offend me. And we'll just order like chicken wings or something for me. And when the pizza comes in and I can smell it, it does nothing for me now. And I never thought I'd ever say that. And I will never, ever say that I'm never going to have pizza again, because I know that there will come a time. But you know what? When that year's up, I may not be rushing to the pizza parlor to have another slice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's mind blowing. But as far as favorite foods, right now it's kind of a tie between like a cheeseburger or chicken wings, because those are kind of 2 things that I gravitate to, that are some of my favorite things.
So I would say, you try the Impossible Burger at White Castle. I'm telling you, it's not all created equal, so it may not do it for you. But if you go to an actual restaurant that serves it, and they serve like all the toppings in their plant-based, it will do wonders, and you will really question, is this a real burger or if this is an Impossible Burger? And it would change your perspective a little bit. And then you've probably had a lot more plant-based food than you think. I mean, guacamole, that's plant-based.
I love guacamole. Hold on. Now stop right there, my friend. You mean to tell me that guacamole is plant-based?
Yeah, so plant-based just means it doesn't have any animal products. There's no meat, there's no dairy, no eggs.
Ah, okay.
That's all plant-based is.
I'm very simple when it comes to these things. Like, I don't know all this stuff. I'm not an expert on nutrition and different foods, but man, that blows my mind, because I love me some guacamole. Now, obviously, that I know that as with any food, it doesn't mean go eat, 6 bowls of it, but man, I love that stuff. I can't get enough of guacamole.
Yeah, you and I both. I make it all the time. God, I love some good guac and a good margarita with it. Jeez.
Man, well, alcohol, that's something else I gave up this year. Can you believe that?
Wow. So I don't have it much either because it can damage the journey. So I'll have a drink maybe once a month.
Yeah.
Tops, maybe a glass of wine once every 2 weeks or something. So that's just one of the things I never, I did it in college and undergrad, went through the party scene. And after that, it was just kind of like, I have my party phase. I'm good with it.
Yeah, I went for the longest time where I would just, have a lot to drink or, and then for a while I kind of just got bored with it and I stopped drinking and then I started drinking again. It was never, I don't want to say it was ever like a problem per se. Like I wasn't, going out and, on these drunk benders and driving drunk and going all around. It was never like that. It was more like, here's a 6-pack or a 12-pack that I'm going to kill in one night at my house while I'm watching a fight, a UFC fight or something like that. And, at one point I just said, I wonder, could I last an entire year without this? That's when I started this challenge where it's no alcohol, no pizza, and no chocolate for the year of 2019. And I'm just like, this is one of the craziest things I've ever challenged myself to do. And what I surprised myself is how much I don't crave these things.
I commend you because that is tough because when you give up stuff and you restrict yourself, sometimes that's what makes you want it the most.
Yeah,
so,
no, I agree because I think that, and I talk about this a lot on the podcast too, of, finding, like when we talk like diets, like finding stuff that you like, but maybe the healthier version and, dialing back the portions, but I never say restrict it. When I'm going out and restricting these things, this is just me being stupid saying, hey, I wonder if I can go without this. Like it's never, you're never allowed to have this again. It's more of almost like a lighthearted challenge. Like, hey, let's see, you're so strong. Let's see if you can last this time without it. And I would definitely, when it comes to a dieting or what have you, I always advocate for people to customize it because that's what I did. I used to eat like 2 turkey burgers, a big old heaping of mashed potatoes and green beans. And now I have cut down to 1 turkey burger, and that turkey burger still has the toppings on it with the, the cheese and the mayonnaise, but it has no bun whatsoever. I went from like a bun to a wrap, and then I got rid of the wrap, and now I'm just eating the meat, which is pretty crazy. I never thought I'd ever do that.
Yeah, I kind of do the same. Like all food. So just because something's plant-based doesn't necessarily mean it's healthy. Like you eat a bunch of Oreos. While Oreos are vegan or whatnot, they're not healthy for you.
Right.
But moderation is the key because if you give yourself moderation, you don't have those cravings. So, anybody that follows me knows I eat very, very clean. And, I'll go out on a weekend and maybe I'll have a meal that's something I go out and try a new place. Or maybe I'll have this one thing, maybe 2 meals, but I portion it. So while I may not eat the whole meal, or I may split it into 2, or I may split the entree with my fiance or something like that. Just so I'm not eating the whole thing. And, you cut those calories in half and then it's like, hey, I'm getting to enjoy all this crazy stuff. But yeah, I'm not just gorging myself and reverting my journey back and doing it all for nothing.
Yeah, that's so true. Talk a little bit about, so when you got started as far as the working out portion of it. I think we've had a great talk about the food and the dieting. How did you get started with your workout? Because I think that's the number one question I get. I want to start. Where do I start? And so the first thing I do is I ask everybody that comes on this podcast. It may not be the first thing I ask them, but it's one of the things that definitely gets asked. It's like, when you got started, how did you start?
So I started out trying to walk, and it was alarming. I couldn't even do a quarter of a mile without my back hurting or without just being out of breath. And this is walking at a slow pace. It was just like, wow, I am this bad. But I kept at it, and after 2 weeks of doing a quarter mile, I worked up to a half mile, and then over time, I got up to a certain amount, and it was like, wow, here I am out here doing a mile. And recently, probably like last year and this year, I got up to a point where I was pretty much doing like a 5K a day.
That's awesome.
And then I fell in love with biking last year. I had a bike sitting in my garage. I spent all this money on it and I didn't use it. And I started using it last year. And I went out for the first time. I was like, this is hard. because you don't think it's as hard as it is, but it is tough. Any slight incline, it is hell.
Oh,
I'll just put it
it'll
that way.
work you. That's for sure.
And you know, I worked at it, and I can only do like a mile or two. But last summer and last fall, I was going out doing 8 to 15 miles at a time, multiple times a week.
Now that's awesome. You have a lot of good paths where you live.
Yeah, so I'm in the Raleigh, North Carolina area, so there's tons of greenway and trails and beautiful green space. So this is everywhere, and I can throw my bike in the truck and go anywhere and just drop my bike and go ride and come on back, go to a lake. Heck, I can go to the beach and ride it around by the beach.
Yeah, that's really what it comes down to, man. It's like finding stuff that you like, and you don't when you get started, it doesn't have to be something that you despise, because chances are you're just not going to want to do it, and you won't, and you won't get anywhere. It's finding the stuff that you like, so I love when you say, yeah, I just started out walking. That's how I started as well. Excuse me. And, I love that, because it's like, it was never saying, okay, well, to start, I have to go out and jog a mile or 2 or 3 or whatever. Because first of all, when you just started, you're probably not going to be able to do that. But it's starting out slow and setting realistic expectations, because when you do that, you're more likely to succeed, as opposed to setting goals that, you have really no chance of completing.
Yeah, I agree with you. And so I've gotten more into the idea of adding more variety. At first I was more just let me walk or bike. So now started this year, I've done yoga. I've done a couple of 30-day challenges, and actually did it with a group of folks on Instagram because they were interested. And so doing that, and now I kind of like yoga. And so I'm bringing in more weight training. I used to weight train when I played football way back in the day,
right,
in middle school and such. And so now I'm just trying to add more weight training, because I'm like, yeah, I need to build muscles. I need to have that, because that base and that core underneath is going to help burn the fat off a little bit more. And just pulling back on some of that walking, because it's not, while walking is fine, it has caused some hip issues just because I was doing it so much. And I'm like,
right,
yeah, I'm probably overexerting. So just pulling back and adding more variety and focusing on building those muscles and just making myself stronger as a whole. So I do a lot of different things now, and it's great. I just couldn't imagine that I would ever get to this point where I can say, wow, Jack has an active lifestyle. It's nuts to think.
Well, it's also fun too, because it sounds like you're doing a lot of different things, and when you change it up, you're less likely to get bored. I could tell you, for the longest time I went to the gym and I was doing the same thing, and for a while it's a lot of fun, and then after a while you get bored of it, so you got to switch it up. And then finally this year I started doing the DDP yoga, and it's been a lot of fun.
In that. What's your experience like with that? I really, because I've heard so many great things about it, and I've seen the testimonials on YouTube, and I've never really known anybody that's done it. And so I've been wanting to invest in it, but I wanted to see someone that's done it, like a real life opinion on it.
Well, I can tell you that I've been at it now for probably 2.5, almost 3 months. And what I've gained out of it is just, feeling better overall. My body just feels so much better. And I can tell, I was in New York the last couple of days, and the schedule is so hectic that I did not squeeze it in. I replaced it with walking, and I could feel that when I came back to it just today, like an hour ago, before we got on here and chatted. I was doing the yoga, and I could feel it. And I know the difference when I'm on it and when I'm not on it. And, just the flexibility, the way I feel when I get done, I feel accomplished. I mean, it's really, number one, it's a lot of fun, but number two, and more importantly, it's really shaping my body in a way that, I never could have imagined. I'm doing moves that I would have never envisioned doing before. And I would tell you that if you want to hear some testimonials about DDP yoga right here on this podcast, there's a couple of people that I could point you to that I had on here. I had a woman that's been doing it for 10 years and had lost well over 100 pounds doing it, and she's in phenomenal shape. She feels great. There's another gentleman who lost about 200 pounds over the course of a year doing
Wow.
DDP yoga. Yes, that, and everybody's going to see different results. And I know I've had people come to me because, they see what I've done, or they hear the podcast and they're like, oh my God, tell me about this thing where these people have lost so much weight. And I'm like, you can see weight loss from it, but that's not the whole story. There's a lot more to it. And the way that Dallas lays out the program and the way he educates you with his philosophy on the diets and the workout and making it your own. And that's what I love more than anything. That's what resonated with me, where it's talking about making the workout your own. Here's the move, but then here's 2 other ways to do the move in case your body is not ready to do the move this way. And so rather than, you try to do one move and you fall flat on your face, or you trip and you get so angry and frustrated, you just want to quit. He says, well, try it this way. And if that doesn't work, then try it this way. And one of those 3 ways is going to work. And it really helps you to build a lot of strength in your body.
That's awesome. I saw you got to meet him too. That's amazing. It looked like you had a good time.
He is an incredible guy. I mean, this was my first time meeting him, and I got to tell you, he's just filled with so much life and positivity and energy. He didn't know me from the next guy, other than, obviously he's seen me on Instagram a couple of times when I tagged him, but just the conversation we had for a couple of minutes, he was just so uplifting and encouraging, and just saying, I'm glad that you're doing my program, and just keep at it, because it sounds like you're seeing some good results out of it. And he just comes across as like a real guy for a guy that's as busy as he is, that has his hands as much that he does with this program. I mean, I've heard stories of him reaching out personally to people that are on the program. He has their number through the program, and he'll call them up and just start chatting with them. And I love that. I just think that he's such a real, authentic person.
That personal touch and just that genuine authenticity, the care about a human, and they're not just a customer number, that makes the world of difference. You know how much that can inspire someone to say, this guy is big time and he cares about me. You know what? I'm going to keep going because this is amazing. I can do this and I can get big and I can inspire someone else. It can light a fire under someone that's struggling.
And that is so true. I mean, just, on such a smaller level, somebody comes on my shop and gets something and they tag me in it, or whatever, and I see it. I've reached out to people, and, being on a much smaller level than he is, obviously, I mean, he's up there. People are surprised when they hear from you. And I would encourage anybody that, runs a business, or, runs some kind of an account where people are following along and they're invested in what you're doing, interact with these people and communicate with them, because it helps. And we can definitely talk about the Instagram community. I know you mentioned that you've had it for a little while. How do you kind of get involved in the weight loss community? Because this is such a great place to be. It's a lot of great like-minded people that are lifting each other up through, these posts that we're putting out there.
Yeah. So, I follow a variety of people, women, men. I follow people who've had weight loss surgery. I follow natural weight loss folks. I follow vegans, plant-based, keto, everything. So we're all after the same goal, and anything I can do to just put what works for me, and any tips, things that I've learned. And I'm very, very transparent. You can ask anyone that follows me for any amount of time. If I struggle, I'll put it out there, because you'll get on a lot of pages and you'll see just nothing but the positive and the rainbows and the unicorns. And that's not what this is about. It is a very up and down battle. Every day is not great. Every day is not sunshine. And I'll lay it out there and be completely honest with people and say, you know what? I've struggled for a week. Maybe I gained 3 pounds. Maybe I didn't gain. Maybe I'm just struggling mentally. Maybe I'm having a lot of aches and pains this week, and I'm pulling back. And it's important to show that, because you never know who you can relate to and who can say, wow, he's struggling, so this is something normal. I should expect this. But look at him still go. Look at him still be positive and try and keep things on track. And you just never know who's having a rough day, and that can really be something positive in their life. If I get a recipe from someone, I tag them in it and give my opinion. People ask me for recipes all the time of the food I cook, and I'm more than happy to share it, and when they tag me in it, it makes me happy that they enjoy the food, that they think it's great, that it's helping them, and it's something that they want to keep around in their program or their routine.
Right.
I just want to be supportive. My page it's mostly weight loss, but it's also snapshots of my life. So I put everything out there. Work, fun, family, everything, my dog. So it's kind of like a journey for life for me. Weight loss being a big focus of it right now. And just anything I can do to help people support. I'm always here, open door to talk to people. I've talked to people about everything from A to Z, and I'm just always here for folks. No matter if you've had weight loss surgery, if you're doing it naturally, no matter if you're doing, this diet versus this diet or anything like that. So.
No, and that's awesome. That's really what the community is about. I mean, I can't imagine getting as far as I did without the support of the community. I mean, it's definitely been a powerful tool to have in my toolkit. Obviously I'm doing all the work, but to have the people and the support, I mean, it means the world for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like you reached out to me and you're just like, I saw you how many followers, and sometimes you see people like, oh, they're not going to respond. And I heard from you within 5 minutes, and I was like, wow, this guy really cares. And I was so excited. Like you can ask Lee, I've been talking to her about it. And I was like, I'm so excited to go on a podcast. I've never done one. So this will be a great experience. She's like, oh, Gary's awesome. You'll love him.
Well, she is the best. I can tell you that right now. That is a fact. And it's tough at times. You try to get back to everybody. I've had messages that get lost, and somebody will come back a week later. Hey, I never heard back. And I feel so terrible about it, because you try to get to everybody, and it's always a thing of just trying to make sure that you can get to as many people as possible and help as many people as you can. And that's why I'm here. It's to keep myself accountable, but also to help others, and reach out and keep that communication going.
Absolutely. It means a lot. I've had some bigger accounts that I follow where they have 18,000 people, and every message that I've ever sent them about something, they've responded, or they take an interest in the things that I'm doing. And I was like, it just makes me, I never envisioned that I would be impactful for anything like this. And the fact that people look up to me and come to me, it's still mind-boggling to me, because I'm like, wow, I have an impact. I'm nobody, I'm just an everyday guy out here working in technology, trying to lose some weight.
And lost quite a bit of weight.
Yeah, I mean, I've lost a lot of weight. I never even thought I would get to this point, and just learning still. I mean, it's always a learning process. So just sharing my story and doing what I can. And if I can inspire anybody, because I was a very big guy, and I never thought I can even get to this point. And the fact that it's possible, and if I can show people that this is possible, then my job is done.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And, it's a hell of a story. When you look ahead to the future, you got that proverbial crystal ball in your hand. What are some of the goals that you're working on in the next 3-5 years or so? Like what, do you have more weight you want to lose, or what are some other goals that you're working on that to try to, take you into the next couple of years?
Yep. So I hope to be to my goal weight. I'm aiming to do that within the next rolling year. So hopefully by spring next year, I'm at my goal weight and I'm maintaining. Since I had so much, at some point, skin removal surgery may be in my future, but I'm not going to stress that right now. So I'm just going to keep moving on with what I'm doing and get to my goal weight and build as much muscle as I can.
Yeah. That skin removal I hear is pretty painful.
Yeah, and that's what worries me. It's expensive too. It's not covered by a lot of insurances either. So
yeah, a friend of mine, Lexi, she had it done, and I know that was very painful for her to go through. And I mean, she's feeling great now, obviously, but yeah, it's expensive, and it does not feel good at all. That's what I hear.
Yeah, we'll see when we get there. My thing is, I'm trying to keep it to let me even get to that point first.
Sure.
And then,
yeah.
Determine that. Other than that, just keep refining my cooking, and a lot of people keep telling me to put out a recipe book.
Hey, man.
Yeah, I need to come up with a lot of recipes to fill a book, and and start doing that. So, maybe that'll be some type of focus at some point to start sharing more of those recipes and put together some type of, I'll probably just do like a free ebook to even gauge how well it is put together and how people love it. And maybe somewhere down the road, maybe there'll be an actual full-fledged hardcover book that I can put out there to share. So that's another goal.
Don't underestimate that one. I tell you what, I was telling my pal Shred Happens. I don't know if you follow him, but he posts a lot of food stuff. And I'm like, man, you got to make a damn cookbook. It's not all about the money, but I'm like, dude, you'll make money in your sleep. You'll put up as an ebook and you'll be a millionaire before you know it.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. I mean, you put out the cookbook and people love it and start tagging and stuff. That feels good. And then you just get that attention and you get that commitment to people start saying, yeah, what are you going to cook next? I want to start making this for like an important meal or something. And knowing that you're on someone's dinner table for an important meal goes a long way.
I bet, man. I don't know a damn thing about cooking, but I'll tell you what, I could only imagine what that's like, to have a cool recipe that people want to make. I mean, that would be probably a really amazing feeling.
Yeah. Other than that, just other goals, just keep excelling in my career. I guess, like I said, I got a new position that I'm starting, so that's great. We'll eventually get married for sure. Probably travel some. And as I travel, I've actually met some of the people that follow me. Shockingly, I've had a chance to travel for work, and I've gotten to meet some really, really cool people across the areas that I've traveled and just share a cup of coffee or share a meal with them and hear their journey and just that in-person connection. So just kind of sewing up some of that digital relationship you have with a lot of people.
Definitely. Well, I can tell you what, Jack, you are definitely doing an amazing job. I mean, you look phenomenal. I'm actually just pull up your page. I'm looking at a couple of these photos here, and you're just doing incredible, man. All I can tell you is, as we wrap up, man, just keep up the amazing work and keep on inspiring people, man. Wow.
I appreciate everything. I appreciate you reaching out to me. You're killing it too, and keep at it this year. Withhold those cravings this year. You got it. You can make it the year. And
definitely.
Next year you may not even want it. You may say, you know what, let me go another year.
I keep telling myself that. I have a couple of my friends are like, hey, sure you don't want to try this new quarter pounder McDonald's has? I'm like, no, I'm good for now. I'm all right for now.
Yeah.
Well, before we go, man, tell the people where to get you on Instagram. I don't think we got the handle in there yet, and anything else you want them to check out.
Sure. My IG Instagram name is Jack Attack. So JACKATTACK 9182. Just give me a follow. Check me out. Any questions or anything, just shoot me a message. I'm always here. I'm always open. Always a lending ear. If anything I can tell you, just anything in life, is just try and stay as positive as you can. I struggle with it. Anybody that knows me knows I struggle with it, but just trying to stay positive and keep at it. I can't stress how much a habit or changing your relationship with something that you feel is negatively affecting you can help you in life.
Yeah, well, amen to that. And go check out this man's page, because I hear he's going to have this killer ebook coming out. Go check it out right now.
Someday.
There you go. Jack, it's been a pleasure, man. This is, what can I say? You get on the phone with a complete stranger, and an hour later, you have a hell of a conversation on your hands. It's been a pleasure. It's all mine, man.
Likewise. I appreciate it.
Remember at the beginning of the show, I mentioned a little thing called Patreon? Well, I'd love to have you join me. But Gary, what is Patreon? It's a website that is helping small creators like me raise funds to further expand their creative visions. For as low as $1 a month, you can help me further my dream of reaching as many people as possible and eventually taking the show on the road to meet all these fine people face to face and add a video element to this podcast. If you were to donate $4 a month, you'd be hearing this show a few days earlier with no commercials and getting access to my close friends group on Instagram. Donate $10 a month and you get all that plus your name right at the beginning of the show alongside other producers. But act fast. That tier is limited to 10 people. I've I've got a whole lot more to offer, and you can get all the details over at patreon.com/Gary Cantrell. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you. Thanks so much for checking out the show, and I'll talk to you again really soon. HardWorkAlwaysWins.com. It's more than just a clothing line. It's my mantra. I speak it, I wear it, I live it, and I'd love to have you join the Hard Work Squad. We're constantly adding new items to the store, including our brand new Future-ish hats, which come in a variety of colors, including camo. I mean, who doesn't like camo? We also just put our famous Splash logo in gold to match our OG logo, and there's so much more here. You just got to check it out. Here's the best part. Use the code PODCAST at checkout to take 10% off of your very first order and join the Hard Work Squad today.